Dad, car dealers are desperate to maintain their status as an integral part of the car buying process. They are so desperate that the NADA, the National Automobile Dealers Association, spends upwards of $35 million a year simply lobbying for their existence. And now, Dad, we have a law that is set to become a law, a bill set to become a law in the state of Virginia that is allowing dealers to dig their heels in even more and block direct to consumer sales of automobiles. What is the lay of the land on this story, and what do we need to know?
Well, what's going on in Virginia is the state legislature has put together two bills, identical bills, and they're pretty sure that one of them will pass to prohibit manufacturers from dealing directly with consumers when it comes to negotiating a price, negotiating a lease, negotiating payments, and cutting out the dealer altogether. So if this becomes law in Virginia, the good folks of Virginia are not going to be participating in the direct-to-consumer purchasing of automobiles in the future. And my guess is that if this law were to pass, many other states would look at passing similar legislation to protect the dealership lobby, the auto lobby in their states. So this does not bode well for manufacturers who are thinking that, well, we're just going to start selling direct to consumer. We're going to make dealerships the delivery agent.
Pops, this does not bode well for anyone except for dealerships that exist by, this is how they make a living. And don't get me wrong, dealerships employ lots of people. They employed my dad for 4 decades. I get it. It's digging your heels into an existing process that is not in the best interest of the consumer and could be way more efficient. Some of the key points, Dad, from the proposed laws, and I love that. Let's just put 2 bills in, because if one doesn't pass, the other one will. Dad, what it would prohibit automakers from doing are negotiating the sale or lease terms directly with consumers, including online, though automakers could display dealerships' pricing online. Okay, so the OEM, the manufacturer, could not set the terms of the actual price of the vehicle. This would also prohibit the manufacturers from retaining ownership of new vehicles until they're sold, rather than selling them to dealers to hold in inventory, though automakers would be allowed to maintain common stocks of vehicles from which dealers can buy inventory, so preserving the way that inventory is sold to dealers. This would also prohibit the negotiating directly with consumers on the terms of service contracts or maintenance agreements offered by dealers. Every time someone gets on us, hey, Zach, why does CarEdge sell extended warranties? Because the dealers make a ton of money on it, and no one's trying to disrupt that space. No one's trying to provide a fair price. Here is literally a law being passed to prohibit automakers from even trying to disrupt that space, because the dealers make so much money selling extended warranties, also known as service contracts. This bill would also prohibit, Dad, the manufacturers from declaring dealers to be delivery agents for new vehicles for which automakers directly negotiated the sale and lease terms with consumers, and it would prohibit unilaterally changing franchise agreements without agreement from dealers. This is like the dinosaurs before the meteor hit, or however they went extinct. Dad, they're going to try and be cockroaches. They're going to try and be around forever. And I'm not calling car dealers cockroaches. I'm simply equating, the fact that they'll live on forever. They're determined to do that. Pops, we are super excited. CarEdge Insurance. What is it? What do we need to know?
It's all your insurance needs in one place. Easy, simple, fast. Just give us some information. You get your quotes.
CarEdge.com/insurance.
And, I get why they're doing it. They're trying to protect the businesses and the interests that they've established over many, many years, many, many decades. But that doesn't mean, just because the way things have been done for the last 50, 60, 70 years, that doesn't mean that's the way it always has to be done. That also doesn't mean that that's the best way for it to be done. But if they can get state legislatures to pass bills like this to protect their interests, and let's face it, whether it's state automobile dealer groups or a national automobile dealer group, those are huge lobbies that spend a lot of money to influence how state legislatures operate and the type of bills that they produce.
Yep.
So we're talking about big dollars here, and it's going to be hard for the consumers to have their voices heard because consumers aren't lobbying to the same degree that automobile dealers associations are. So I mean, if this law passes, it sets the precedent for probably the vast majority of states to follow suit.
100% it does that. And honestly, I wish we had more financial means to set up our own lobby, like the consumer automobile or the national automobile consumers, whatever. We'd come up with some acronym and we would spend the money on doing things that actually make this industry more efficient, so cheaper to operate and cheaper to run, and fair, so that you're not getting taken advantage of if you have less information versus if you have more information. Like, those are the two things that here at CarEdge we believe strongly in. And here's a perfect example of a legislature being influenced by all of the lobbying dollars to, again, just preserve this existing business model, which is not efficient. Take out of it if you think it's good or bad. It's just not efficient, guys. Like, why should this exist 20 years from now? It shouldn't. And the reason it will is because of bills like this that it's going to pass this week. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me, Dad. And it's proof that money talks. You know, if you can lobby hard enough, you'll get what you want. And honestly, we should all be fed up about it. We really, really should.
Well, yeah, we should be. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we could just take lobbying dollars out of the equation altogether? But politicians set things up so that they can line their pockets, not necessarily your pockets. If you ever wonder how somebody can become a politician and have limited net worth, and then when they exit being a politician, that their net worth is 10 times that or 20 times that. This would explain how and why that happens. So if it's in the best interest of the politicians, it isn't necessarily in the best interest of the people that they're representing. And so that's why we find ourselves in this position. And we need consumers, led by us perhaps, to stand up, scream, shout at the top of their lungs that they don't want this to continue in the manner in which it's been set up for the longest period of time. There are and can be better ways for consumers to be able to purchase cars. And if buying direct from the manufacturer is a better way, we need to figure out how to make that happen so that all parties can be happy.